Hello everybody and welcome back to the Science of, the show where I take a look at the science behind your favourite game shows and more. Tears of the Kingdom is finally out, and to prepare, I've been playing Breath of the Wild again for weeks, playing through all manner of puzzles, and it's got my science brain a-buzzing. Breath of the Wild is unlike any other Zelda game to date, and introduced some great new features to the franchise, like the parasail, as well as some not so great, like being up at 1 in the morning trying to find a new weapon after breaking your 5th stick. Throughout Breath of the Wild, Link can use all sorts of flora and fauna found throughout Hyrule to make food to restore health. But in addition to healing, Link can also pick up special food, which when cooked over a campfire in a cooking pot, releases positive status effects. These range from letting Link run a little bit further, to making him impervious to lightning. The potency of the recipe's effects varies dependent on how many ingredients Link uses in a recipe, and failed food results in dubious or rock-hard food, which restore about as much health as an apple. In Breath of the Wild, there are 11 different effects you can receive from food. Now, quite a few of these status effects are pretty normal for food. I mean, energizing and enduring both increase Link's stamina, allowing him to run further or a bit faster. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that just sounds like normal food type stuff. But then there are some status effects which are a bit more interesting, providing Link with protection from the elements, making sure he's not too hot, not too cold, just right, with the exact right amount of electricity coursing through his body. The spicy effect temporarily raises Link's body temperature. Now in game, this effect is produced as a result of adding spicy ingredients such as spicy peppers and sun shrooms. Whilst in the real world, these spicy foods would act as stimulants to the body's circulatory system and subsequently raise body temperature, in reality, if you want to ward off the cold like Link does in Breath of the Wild, it doesn't matter how many spices you chuck in your pot. It's all about your metabolic activity. Metabolism involves the chemical reactions that break down the food we eat into its individual components. These are sugars, fats, and amino acids. We use these compounds for energy to build up our bodies, build new cellular structures and machinery, and they're all used by different cell groups. High-calorie foods, like bread, are mainly made up of carbohydrates or sugars. These are dealt with by fat cells. In the human body, there are two kinds of fat cells: white fat cells, which store energy from the food we eat, and brown fat cells, which burn calories to heat our bodies. According to a study from 2014, it was found that the body tends to produce more of these brown fat cells when being exposed to cooler temperatures. These fat cells keep us warm, so we need more of them when the temperature drops. Effectively, these brown fat cells act as little furnaces for the human body. The creation of body heat requires a lot of energy, so these cells take in the body's energy stores, glucose and fat molecules, in order to generate heat that can help maintain a proper body temperature. When Captain Robert F. Scott and the crew of the RRS Discovery left England in 1901 to explore Antarctica, they took a wide range of foods on their voyage. Even though the average person requires around 2,000 calories on a daily basis, these Antarctic explorers would burn as many as 10,000 calories every day. To make up these calories, the best food to eat would be carbohydrates. Now in Breath of the Wild, most of Link's diet isn't going to be carbohydrate based. He's mainly picking up whatever he can hunt or gather, so a lot of meat and a lot of mushrooms. And whilst Link can bake bread from Tabantha wheat, which would definitely provide some of the carbs he needs, he cannot access that from the outset, so he's definitely going to be relying more on those meat and veg. But did you know? Up until Breath of the Wild, Link really didn't have much of an appetite. Sure, you could buy food in the original Legend of Zelda game, but it cost between a whopping 60 to 100 rupees, and even Link wouldn't use it to help heal hearts. Instead, the food's main role was to distract enemies or feeding the hungry Goria in the game's 6th dungeon. In The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, Link could use the Pegasus boots to find apples by leaping headfirst into the nearest tree. These apples would actually heal Link a bit, so there's some progress, but still nowhere as close to what Breath of the Wild offered. It would be quite a while until Link got his next meal, which took the form of an elixir soup given to Link by his grandma on Outset Islands in The Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker. This is probably the most powerful food in the Zelda franchise, not only restoring Link's health, but also restoring his magic and doubling his attack speed. 1 cup of this stuff and Link's ready to take on Ganondorf. Okay, fair's fair, Link won't be able to starve off frostbite with his current diet. However, this isn't the only environmental buff that Link gets throughout eating in Breath of the Wild. Link can gain the heat resistance buff through eating meals containing ingredients such as hydromelons, chillfin trout, Pulsafina, and chill shrooms. Now you might think that it's most important to have foods with high water content when journeying through a desert, and you'd be partly right. Naturally, when you're in the desert, you're going to be losing a lot of fluids, thanks to the dry atmosphere, which will cause Link to sweat absolute buckets. The requirement for water in these hot environments will depend heavily on the amount of fluid lost. This in turn could depend on factors like exercise intensity, exercise duration, and dry versus humid heat. Now we don't know how humid the environment is, but what we do know is that Link is running around non-stop. He's fighting monsters, climbing cliffs, doing his typical hero stuff, and as such, he's going to be losing an absolutely huge amount of fluids. Link could be losing as much as 2 to 3 litres per hour. If this fluid isn't replaced, then not only does the total body water go down, but so does the total blood volume. And this can cause some big problems. A decrease in water from the blood leads to a decrease in sweating and blood flow. This means that less heat will be released through evaporative cooling, and Link would be risking some major heat stroke. Now, pretty surprisingly, the foods that Link eats to stave off the heat in Breath of the Wild are actually quite good representatives of the sort of foods you'd want to focus on to keep your cool in a desert. Watermelon, for example, is around 90% water, so it will keep you going for a bit. But all that sweating won't just be removing water, it'll also be removing electrolytes. Electrolytes are salts and minerals which are found in the blood. They're incredibly important, as they maintain the balance of fluids inside and outside of cells, and they also conduct electrical impulses throughout the body. These electrical impulses are responsible for muscle contraction, and this means that when you're running low on electrolytes, you're going to have to deal with issues ranging from small inconveniences, like muscle cramps, to bigger issues like abnormal heart rhythms, and in extreme cases, total heart failure. Thankfully, another one of Link's heat-defying dinners is great for replenishing at least a few of these electrolytes. The chillfin trout won't just be packed to the gills with omega-3, but it'll also be a great source of sodium and potassium, which should keep Link healthy enough to climb cliffs to his heart's content. And the food accuracies don't stop there. Let's take a look at the funky cold Saflina. This Hyrule herb is able to cool the body down, and that's definitely something we see in the real world. Whilst traditionally, the sensations of cold foods like ice cream may provide temporary psychological relief, it won't really do much to actually lower your body temperature. The effect of cooling will only occur whilst the food is inside your mouth. No matter how much ice cream you consume, it won't physically lower your body temperature. Herbs, on the other hand, can act on your body's cells and tissues, not just your taste buds. Take mint for example. Mint's well known for its cooling sensation, and this is thanks to all manner of mint plants containing a chemical called menthol. Menthol is the substance that gives mint its distinct flavour. Menthol has the unique ability to activate a protein called TRPM8. This protein is found in nerve cells, and once activated, it sends a signal to your nerves, tricking them into thinking they're cold when they're actually not. It's pretty amazing, all things considered, and it would definitely help to cooling down at least a little bit in those desert conditions. But out of all of the status effects that Link can get from eating food, to me, the most interesting of all is his ability to eat food that will stop him dying when he's hit by a bolt of lightning. Well, not too surprisingly, there are no foods at all that can stop you being harmed by a 300 million volt, 30,000 amp bolt of lightning. The only thing that would protect against that many volts is a mobile Faraday cage that Link can roam around Hyrule Fields in. However, this is not to say that foods can't help Link after he's had a little shock. When it comes to recovering from an electric shock, the most important thing is to stay hydrated and eat a more nutritionally balanced diet. A shock from a bolt of lightning does a lot of damage to your nervous system, and as such you might experience memory loss, confusion, dizziness, headache, nausea, and muscle twitching. The main thing is to build up a healthy supply of vitamins and nutrients and proteins to help repair your nerve tissues, so lots of eggs, nuts and berries would help get Link on his way. But nothing in the world will keep Link impervious from a bolt of lightning shooting down his spine. As long as he isn't holding any sharp metal sword-like objects into the air, he should be all good. So there we go. As it turns out, Breath of the Wild has some pretty interesting mechanics, and they aren't the least accurate in the world. In fact, the least accurate might be the fact that whenever Link picks up a sword, it's a 50-50 chance as to whether it'll snap in half as soon as he hits an enemy with it. And even whilst the food choices for the status effects may not be the most accurate in the world, the idea of choosing specific foods to help with certain temperature conditions is absolutely accurate, So props to them for that. But anyway, with Tears of the Kingdom just releasing, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of science in that for me to take a look at as well. If you want to see me talk about more of the science behind the Legend of Zelda franchise, then comment down below, telling me what your favourite Zelda game is or your favourite Zelda gadget. Best comment will appear at the end of the next video. Until then, if you want to see me cover more of the science behind the Legend of Zelda, check out this video here, where I take a look at the science behind another one of Link's classic gadgets, the hookshot. Or alternatively, if you want to see me talk about another Nintendo franchise, then take a look at the video here, where I take a look at the Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Punch. But until next time, this has been the Science of Breath of the Wild. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on the science behind your favourite game shows and more.